Welcome. This is my winter tent project. I bought poles that are U.S. Army camouflage poles, and I bought them at the local Ranger surplus store. My initial idea was to hold them together by tension to use paracord, and as you can see, it worked kind of okay, but it was never quite solid enough, and it didn't meet at a point at the top as I had hoped. So I switched to a PVC top, which I had to modify. Sometimes I modified it a little too much with the heat gun and made it too narrow, but eventually I got it to the right look and the right angle for a good size area to live in. Here's where I decided to work on the tarp itself. I got a not terribly thick tarp. I wanted to keep it light after making such heavy poles, using such heavy poles. As you can see, I'm spread it out on the ground and then used one of the poles to determine what the angles and the circumference I was working with. And so I just worked my way around a foot at a time and cut with a knife. And I did one intentionally too large so that I would have some extra room to cut off from, because mine is not a traditional teepee. It doesn't have the same angles as a traditional teepee. So many of the online guides that tell you how to do this turned out to be not terribly useful. Eventually I had to put some bricks down to hold it down from the wind. Now here's where I made my first door. I eventually trimmed off some more material to get it to be entirely flush, and then I started up with the angle yet again, working around the circle, and I took away and saved all these other pieces, which I may use on other projects. So I took away here's me putting the pole together with the top. It's actually pretty easy. One man can do it, and it produces a tremendously rigid frame for the tarp. Half the tarp's points of attachment are at the pole where the pole hits the ground, and the other half are between poles. As you can see, I staked it out here. It will have a tent jack put in for the stove jack, and it's pretty good on the inside actually. At this point I began working on the stove jack and the zipper for the tent. The stove jack was made out of a roof element that I got at the Habitat for Humanity. A rubber ring with a plastic mount. It's fiberglass rope around the exhaust. What you just saw there was my ammo can stove, which I'm going to do a separate thing on. Although I did not test it on the coldest day, it was probably around 40 degrees outside. It really heated up the tent fast, even with a small amount of wood, so I'm very confident in it. And I used a Chinese ammo can. It's actually from a 50 caliber machine gun, and instead of the American one, and I designed it around not needing to do any welding. So I kept the front door. I cut a slot in the second smaller door so I could adjust the amount of air going in. And it's pretty cool. I'm enjoying it greatly. You can see the stove jack working there. It's bolted on and held on with Gorilla Tape, and the Gorilla Tape's there just to route water around it for keep anything from coming in. Mostly using just scrap wood at this point, so it's probably better than the wood I'm going to find in the forest. So I have to keep that on keep that in mind. And there's the air intake I designed. I put shelf knobs on there that I also got at Habitat. You can see the tent here with the zipper. Exhaust that I have, it's 3-inch, but it goes to 4-inch at the end because I could only find a 4-inch exhaust. And that's it.